Just want to talk a bit about the role of marketing campaigns and prison construction. Basically, the reason that we see these types of campaigns being rolled out across the country, both by the federal government and provincial territorial governments as well, of various political stripes. Everyone's doing it. NDP governments, Liberal governments, Conservative governments. It's not a one-party left-right thing. Now, basically, the role of the marketing campaigns, of course, is to preempt critique, to manufacture consent and support for these penal infrastructure initiatives. And they do this primarily through their announcements, their press releases, and their government websites. So, just want to start off a bit with a quote from an executive and consultant from Communicore who is preparing the Government of Ontario's websites for the new South West Detention Centre in Windsor and the Toronto South Detention Centre in Toronto. These are email discussions that I obtained through access to information and freedom of information requests with these different governments. So he's writing an email to a staffer of the Ontario Ministry of Community Safety and Correctional Services, and he says, X individual knows what we do in terms of the big picture theme driving the website's design, i.e. that there is a desire for this to be more than just basic information, but that has some sense of glitz to it. Not my words. I leave it to you to figure out what that means in the context of the website and government protocols. Then he goes on to say, while I fear sounding like an art director, our only creative idea right now is to somehow take one of the streetscape photos in one of the PDFs and make it your main page. Just an idea. I'll let you decide if this is glitzy, but this is basically part of the Southwest Detention Centre website. It looks really nice. It looks like there's some lawn on the top of the building there. But anyways, basically when you read press releases, I've read 61 press releases and did an analysis of those texts. Typically what you'll see in these messages are the facility costs, how much they're spending on design and construction, facility capacity and other features. So you'll see usually the square footage, how many units they're building, how many new prisoner beds are being added, the project timeline, when can you expect to see instant public safety in your communities, allegedly, a summary of stakeholder involvement, if any. So if they consulted even, let's say, the local police forces or maybe the Save Our Prison Farms campaign, if that happened, usually you find that kind of thing in a press release if it occurred, which oftentimes it doesn't. And then relationship to broader measures. Why is this happening? Why are we building new prisons? Often the federal government will point to their legislative agenda. The provinces and territories will just typically point to the needs related to persistent overcrowding and that kind of thing. And that's because most of these prisons, with the exception of 3 jurisdictions, considered federal legislation when they were planning these facilities, which means even when they add 6,500 new prisoner beds, that won't even take into account what's coming down the pipe as a result of what the government's currently doing. And then justifications, other justifications for facility construction, the capacity shortfalls. So I want to focus on 3 particular messages. I want to focus on the public safety narrative. I want to focus on the economic stimulus argument, and then, although we haven't seen it in the federal context, the green prison argument, because I think those of you who are involved in environmental justice movements need to see this stuff and to see how we are greening our prisons and how that language green environmentalism is being co-opted to meet the objectives of certain government institutions. Despite a growing body of evidence that suggests that jurisdictions who expand their capacity of their prisons do not enjoy reductions in their crime rates, there's arguably an assumption held by those who work in the human warehousing agencies and political decision makers that more penal institutions translates into increased levels of public safety. And the central narrative, this is the central narrative of penal common sense that is propagated by all governments in the process of establishing new penal infrastructure across Canada. And one public safety narrative that also accompanies new penal infrastructure development on occasion are reassurances directed towards residents of host communities that facilities are secure enough to prevent security breaches that could have an impact on security in their neighborhoods. So this is the front stage text from a press release from Shared Services British Columbia about a new remand center they were trying to build in Burnaby, BC. There was a bit of a community uprising, opposition against this facility, so they started making a wave of different marketing materials to try and counter this. So, press release says there are many examples in BC of correctional centers being located close to residential areas. While there may be a perception of risk when such a facility is located near residents, in actuality, neighborhood safety is not compromised by correctional facilities. Discharge procedures ensure prisoners have a means to return to their own neighborhoods, and given the short stay of prisoners at pretrial centers, it's very unlikely that families of these prisoners would move to Burnaby. So an email in preparation for this press release, an official from the BC Ministry of Solicitor General and Public Safety to other officials recommends this. Under public security, delete the line LMPC, which is the facility will house adult men facing a variety of charges, or move up to LMPC detail section. Didn't feel it fit with the reassurance in the rest of the section. Anyways, that's kind of funny. Anyways, public safety narrative. Second message is carceral stimulus, this idea that building a prison in your backyard will create jobs. The Conservative Party of Canada was in town a few days ago, and Gordon O'Connor said this expansion will not only strengthen Canada's prison infrastructure, but will also help provide construction jobs in communities across Canada. So what proof do they have that these initiatives will create tangible economic growth in the communities? Well, Liberal public safety critic Mark Holland put forward an order of paper question in the House of Commons in October asking that very question to Minister Taves. Minister Taves responded, since the announced institutional expansions will be occurring within the existing perimeters on CSC-owned land, a review of the impacts on host communities was not undertaken. So we actually don't know how many jobs will result from this facility. These guys are just making it up. But he insisted in his response, given the level of funding that will be expended in the communities, there will be an increase in terms of construction jobs for the community, in addition to new hiring at the facility when the units are ready to be staffed. This is an important part of ensuring tangible economic growth for the communities located around CSC institution. Proof? No, we have a feeling that it's just going to work out this way. This is how the government's working. Okay, so a third narrative I just wanted to quickly go through that does not apply to CSC, but applies to other jurisdictions. This idea that we're replacing aging facilities with green prisons. Okay, so Anyways, we have this email from an official from the Department of Supply and Services regarding the announcement of the new Dalhousie Correctional Center in New Brunswick, a provincial facility. He says, "Hi, redacted. Attached is a draft news release for the Dalhousie Correctional Center design unveiling. I'd like to bulk it up a bit by speaking to some of the environmentally friendly features of the building. Could you provide me with a few things we might wish to highlight?" So the person responds back, "Hi, the building will be designed to maximize energy efficiency and water use reduction. All building materials and products specified will contain no or low volatile organic compounds. The project will strive to specify materials with recycled content and which are harvested and manufactured regionally within 500 miles. A construction waste management plan and an erosion and sedimentation control plan will be put in place during all construction phases of the project. And efforts will be made to minimize site disruption during construction. A recycling program will be put in place for when the facility is operational. Let me know if you need anything else or more explanation." I'd like to hear what the explanation for the recycling program is. Recycling prisoners. Okay, what's the press release look like after this? So they regurgitate basically what the person suggested. In addition to this, we'll excerpt here. As part of the government of New Brunswick's Green Buildings program, the Correctional Center has been designed to achieve a silver rating under the principles of leadership in energy and environmental design and will be registered with the Canada Green Buildings Council. The facility has been designed to maximize energy efficiency and minimize water use. It will be constructed with environmentally friendly building materials, and waste generated during the construction period will be strictly managed. A recycling program will be also put in place once the center is operational. The day after this press release was released on May 11, 2009, an email gets sent. A photoionization, which is basically a way to detect different compounds on given sites. This is the site here for the Dalhousie Correctional Center, and you'll notice a few lines here. And anyways, I'll tell you what those are in a second. Hello. Please advise if there is potential wetland on PID 502444698. This is where the Dalhousie Correctional Center is to be built. See press release. Response. It looks like there could be on the back of the site from the data and visible evidence on aerial photography. I will hire Redacted to do a wetland delineation at Dalhousie Jail, since Redacted will be at Balmoral School later this week. Department of Environment has a new tool to identify wetland, and Department of Supply and Services should verify with Redacted to confirm if there is a wetland or not before Redacted. Will normally respond very quickly, as you can see below. Regards. Okay, so they're promoting their green prison, and they didn't bother to do a wetland evaluation or check that out beforehand. And they obviously were a bit panicked once they realized that they already announced these things. And this is just kind of a snippet of some of the things I've encountered doing my dissertation work.